Good morning. Here we are. This is Australia Overnight. Tony Moclair will be along shortly. Just a little car trouble. So you've got Simon Owens here and Philip Brady filling in for Bona.
Hi folks, how are you? Good to see you.
Bit of music never hurts to kick off a show. We should whip into some weather before we get into other things, Phil. Sydney currently 23.4 degrees to be exact, 27 degrees with a shower or two is the forecast for today. Melbourne 18.5 degrees at the moment, 25 you're expected, top today, good on you Melbourne. Brizzy 31 degrees, oh we love that, 25.5 right now as we speak. In Perth, if you're listening in Perth, and you wouldn't be, but if you do happen to be over there with an app, you'll be listening to us at 20.2 degrees and 26 degrees is the expected top. Where else? Oh, that's about all that really matters for the moment in terms of capital cities, but we will give you some other weather during the morning. Now, we won't, because Tony will be in to take over.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people will be surprised to know I'm still alive. They will remember my TV shows.
This is actually something that I thought we might do, because it's just a bit of a one-off. So people might know me because I filled in for Luke before with Andrew McLaren, and on occasion solo.
Yes.
So Simon Owens is my name. Good morning to you.
Yeah.
Philip Brady is opposite me. Philip Brady is a TV star for many, many years. 50-something years in...
58 years so far.
58 years in media so far.
But haven't had a regular television quiz of my own since 1976.
Yes, but 76 was only so recent. You're still very dear in the hearts of people right across the country.
What's that, 40 years ago, is it? But
yes.
I've appeared more recently in the Blankety Blanks with Graham Kennedy and the Mike Walsh Show, and I'm normally called upon to do obituaries when people pass on,
yes,
or appear in telethons for free these days.
Yes. Now, also in the studio with us, Ken Francis. Good morning, Ken.
Morning, Simon. Morning, Phil.
Hi, Ken. How are you?
Good to see you.
Ken Francis is a music historian who is well known to the Melbourne audience, but to Sydney, Brizzy and Canberra. Ken Francis is sort of the Glen A. Baker of Melbourne.
Yeah, without the fez.
Yes, or the Molly Meldrum without the hat. Basically, his problem is he's never had an image. But he is a music historian nonetheless.
The trouble is I've still got my hair.
Yeah, exactly.
You're really Wolfman Jack without the fangs.
Now, calls are welcome on 13 13 32. Anything you want to chat about, we will happily take your calls.
We might talk about the Oscars. They're on in 12 hours from now. And have you seen a movie that you think might win an Academy Award later today?
Tony's stuck in traffic and he's thinking, oh, don't open with that, Phil, don't ruin my show.
It's so topical. I bet he wanted to do it himself. Now, I'm just going to give you a couple of nominations. I don't know if you've seen the movie. Best actor will be either Bryan Cranston for Trumbo, Matt Damon.
He was, now hang on, so people know, he was the father in Malcolm in the Middle. That's how I associate him.
All right, well, comment on the actors if you can.
He's probably the only one I'll know.
Matt Damon in The Martian.
Ken?
No, I haven't seen a movie since 1989.
Oh, great.
Leonardo DiCaprio for The Reverend. Michael Fassbender for Steve Jobs, or Eddie Redmayne for The Danish Girl. What's your tip?
My tip? Oh.
If you haven't seen the movie, it won't help.
Bryan Cranston, because he's the only name I can remember.
Oh, okay, that's being very honest. Now, the best picture, this will be interesting. There are about 8 of them. Guys, I'd like your choice here. And folks, ring in and tell us what you think will win the best picture Oscar. Spotlight is one movie. The Big Short is another. Bridge of Spies. Some of these may not have been released in Australia yet. Brooklyn is another movie. Mad Max, Fury Road with George Miller. The Martian, The Reverend, or Room. Any ideas, boys?
Well, I just had a text from Darryl Ray, who is a Melbourne chopper pilot who flies by night without lights and gives us traffic reports. He says... he said the third one. What was the third movie?
Bridge of Spies.
Bridge of Spies,
really?
yes.
I'm hoping Mad Max wins, of course, for George Miller. Now, let me tell you a couple of Oscar stories, because I've been lucky enough, Ken and Simon, to have gone to the Academy Awards as a guest, not with the media, but as a guest in the audience on 3 occasions, at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion in Los Angeles, And I'll just tell you 2 anecdotes. Would you like to hear them?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Really?
Yeah, well, whenever you're ready.
One is, I was with a girl called Susie Perkins, the daughter of the Australian stuntman Gil Perkins, and we walked into the auditorium together to thunderous applause, and I thought, gee, that's, excuse me.
No, that's right. Just clear your throat whilst...
I should turn my mic off too when you're doing
We
it.
all should
No,
have
it's not
actually-
clear with throat, I'm just
that was
choking to
very
death.
loud. Phlegm.
No, call me Philip.
Oh, sorry, Phlegm.
Just call me Flip. So the story is that Susie and I walk in down the aisle to our seats to thunderous applause, and I'm thinking, I'm taking bows and waving to everybody. I'm thinking, how nice is this? I didn't know anyone in Hollywood knew me, and
They all thought he was Lucille Ball.
and I'm acknowledging the crowd and waving to them like a paper wave, only to see that 2 paces behind me was Richard Burton.
Oh, isn't that
I
wonderful?
think the applause might have been for him. And I said that to him. He laughed. I said, I think that's for you, not for me. He said,
Bert Newton in the...
he laughed in Welsh.
Bert Newton in the 1990s, I think it might have been, doing the Logies, did almost the same story.
Tell me.
He said, I got out of the car and I'm walking down the red carpet, and he said, there's thunderous applause. And he said, no, I honestly thought, I thought I might have been a bit past it, but look, clearly they love me. It's obvious there's still a big fan base out there for Bert Newton. And I said to Kylie and Jason, who were with me at the time...
Oh, that's so Bert. Now, my other story, can I tell you, is Charlie Chaplin.
Okay, yes,
yeah,
please do, because Pam's been waiting to talk to us. We'll talk to Pam and Billy very shortly.
Who's bigger, Pam or Charlie Chaplin? That's what I want to know.
No, you're doing your very best Luke Bona impersonation so far.
Pam's still alive.
Okay,
so.
let me just tell you very briefly. Early in the 70s, Charlie Chaplin came back to Hollywood after having been blacklisted for many, many years, wasn't allowed into America because of his socialist tendencies, but all was
We've
forgiven.
all been there, done that.
And came back as Sir Charles Chaplin, and went on stage to receive an honorary Oscar and got a 12-minute standing ovation.
Wow.
Because such a pioneer of silent movies and so on. I mean, probably, you know, more associated with Hollywood than anyone before or since. I had a chance to meet him at the Board of Governors Ball afterwards at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. And by this time, guys, he was so frail, he was being carried around on his elbows by minders. He was sort of waltzing across the floor without his feet touching the ground.
Oh, really?
He was a very old man.
Oh,
and I said to him, which might have been a bit dumb, I said, I was introduced to him. I said,
You didn't use a line like, you haven't got a leg to stand on or something, did you? That'd just be embarrassing.
No, but I did say to him, Sir Charles, isn't it about time you came down to visit us in Australia? Now, that was a pretty dumb question, because by then he had one leg in the grave and was in his late 80s, and he just turned to me and said to me in his best British voice, "Oh, my dear fellow, isn't it a bit late for that?" Aww. But at least I shook hands with Charlie Chaplin.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And he probably went home to Una, his wife, and said, "I've just met Philip Brady."
He just went home and said, thank God I never went to Australia, if that's what they like. Pam calls from Brisbane. Morning, Pam. Or good evening to you.
I was about to say good evening, but of course it is morning.
Yes, morning for us, evening for you. Good evening to you.
Hi, Pam.
I'm Brisbane, of course, and for the longest while, our state governments have been talking about extending state elections from 3 to 4 years. Now, of course, we're coming up to local elections on the 19th of March,
Yes.
Queensland-wide, and I received this week the official announcement from the Electoral Commission detailing, and be it that I'm such an avid news listener and particularly into politics, this is the first knowledge I have that we are having the referendum on terms of state elections, along with these council elections on the 19th of March. I have not heard one debate. I can't believe that I didn't know this referendum was coming on. Now, if there's nothing else of a substance in the news henceforth, given that so many people will never even bother to read that announcement, that communication from the electoral office, they're going to rock up at those elections not even aware there's a referendum.
And what is the question on the referendum?
Well, it's do you want 3
Yes,
or
please.
4-year terms
Yes.
for state elections? It won't be retrospective. In other words, the Palaszczuk government will still run for the 3 years. But there's, in the envelope, there's a couple of pages in support of the yes or the no vote. And, I mean, I think so many people are over elections and the like, but that's all very well. Queensland does not have an upper house.
It's interesting, Pam. You are right. It was announced back in December that this was going to happen, but it's not really. You know, I've heard nothing about it myself, I have to say.
No, it's news to me.
Yeah. So it's very interesting that is going to happen.
And the thing is, I truly believe that had the Newman government had 4 years, the chances are they may still be in.
Yes.
Goodness knows what would have happened had Anna Bligh had an extra year.
Oh, you wonder, yeah.
And now the Palaszczuk government, just as starting its 2nd year, I consider that one too many years already, and I would love to know how many other people in Brisbane, Queensland, know that this referendum is on.
Well, good on you for raising it. I think it's an important thing, and I think people should be made aware. So what has happened is, back in December, it was decided by I think Sterling Hinchcliffe had something to do with it, as I leap for my laptop so I can make sure I'm giving out right info. Look, I'm not going to pretend that I know all this stuff. I Google search things and find out.
We should actually be speaking to Philip Brady, who lived on the Gold Coast for 5 years.
Yes, but I left there in 1990. I'm no help to Pam. Joe Bjelke-Petersen was still in power.
Article I'm reading from the 4th of December says Queensland voters have been asked to approve fixed 4-year parliamentary terms in a referendum. Labor and the LNP have combined to pass laws to extend the current 3-year terms and fix an October election date if a referendum next year, as it was back then, is successful. So that's this year now. So what they are doing is, it says here, the referendum, which could be held with local council elections in March, is considered to have a good chance of success because both major parties support longer terms.
Is it going to be a question about gay marriage as well? Is that part of the referendum?
No, I don't. Well, I don't know. I haven't read further down the article to find out. But, so in short, at the council elections, there will be an envelope there for people to vote on whether to go for the longer term things.
I'm in favour. Aren't you, of a 4-year term? I think it gives the government time to settle in and bed down.
Absolutely.
Like the American elections.
I heard Anna Burke, who was very well spoken about this, and said that you do need that extra year in there.
But I was told nationally 2 issues on the next referendum nationally. One issue would be gay marriage and the other would be maybe changing the Australian flag.
Oh, okay.
But that didn't
That old
surface.
chestnut.
It didn't surface in our conversation with Pam. Pam, I hope you remember me from the Money Makers. Get the message, password, everybody's talking, and concentration.
Pam hung up about 4 minutes. On Australia Overnight at 22 past the hour, there is Philip Brady in studio, Ken Francis in studio, and I'm Simon Owens. It takes 3 of us to fill in for the great Tony Moclair, who will be here as soon as the car trouble gets sorted out.
You probably only know me from dropping in the papers to whoever is on air, whether it's Alan Pearsall or whoever, Andrew McLaren or yourself. You always say, thank you, Philip.
Given that we're filling in for Luke Bona, or well, Tony's filling in for Luke Bona and we're filling in for him, you haven't dropped in the papers to Luke Bona because he operates out of the Sydney.
It's a bit hard, but if Tony is listening, and he's probably on his way in, take your time, Tony. I'm settling into this. I'm rather enjoying midnight.
Put the foot down, Tony. Put the foot down.
And Luke, if you haven't left for India yet, we wish you well with your 75 best friends.
Kevin's in Sunshine. G'day, Kevin.
Greetings, Travelling Simon.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Look, I'd like to nominate a movie which was never nominated for any Oscars and not likely to now because it's so old. But this particular movie, if it was utilised correctly by the Australian Tourism Commission, it could promote Australian tourism even better than, dare I say it, campaigns of Lara Bingle and Paul Hogan.
And what's the movie?
Walkabout.
Oh, yes. Tell us why.
Earlier tonight we were talking about the year I think it was 1989, and was it 1989? And is that correct?
Maybe. And
in connection with that, the actor Walter Millian came up.
yes.
And of course he starred in the first 15 minutes of Walkabout.
Okay.
But have either of you guys seen Walkabout in recent years?
Oh, no, I saw that when I was in primary school, I have to say.
I think it was revived not so long ago, Kevin, on DVD.
2 weeks ago on SBS or one of the Channel 2 sister stations, it aired.
Yes.
2 weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
It was a new print in widescreen.
Yes.
None of this cutting off the tops and the bottoms or the sides.
Right.
Absolutely beautiful. Gee, it stacks up well. It stacks up well today. It could be re-released today and it'd still pull the crowds in.
Yeah, it's much talked about movie, and thanks for reminding us about it, Kevin.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Good on you, Kevin. Much appreciated. Calls are welcome on 13 13 32. We'll be crossing very shortly as soon as Tony Moclair's car trouble is sorted out. He will be here filling in for Luke Bona.
I call him behind his back Tony Moclair. I don't think that would offend him in any way, would it? It makes him something of a household name.
No, just it's been nice knowing you.
Plus he enjoyed the infamy.
That is his real name. Terry calls from Perth. G'day, Terry.
Hi, Terry.
Hello, guys. Now, how could you forget me? I'm your only Perth listener, I think.
Yes,
right.
I thought someone might be listening via the app.
Uh-huh.
Of course, I have you on 24/7. I love your radio station, so there you go. I just thought I'd ring in and say I think for the Oscars, I hope Hateful Eight makes some sort of...
Oh, that's the Quentin Tarantino movie. I believe it's rather violent.
Well, he is known for his violence, but I'm such a great fan of Tarantino.
Yes.
You sort of expect it, and it just sort of flies off now. You don't really take any notice of that.
Yeah, it's a Western, isn't it? Like an old-fashioned Western.
It sure is, and it's all shot in this one homestead.
Oh.
But every character is so individual, but they all do the big roundabout, and they all end up in this place. It's just another awesome classic.
Did you love Inglourious Bastards?
Oh.
That's a bit rude.
Well, that was Tarantino.
He's never seen the movie. He just likes the title.
He goes national and it all goes to his head, Terry.
Yeah, straight
that's
away.
it. He's a show-off now. Yes, I loved that movie, and I loved the scalping. Oh, that was the Nazi one, wasn't
That's
it?
right, yes, with Christopher Waltz, yes, it was.
He is brilliant, that actor, and he's in a lot of Tarantino
Yes, I
movies.
saw him on the Graham Norton show. He's got a lovely sense of humour as well.
Oh, good grief. I know. Well, some of the characters he plays, you'd have to have it.
Yeah. Hey, good talking to you, Terry.
Thank you. Good night.
Good on you.
It's 9 o'clock here, so I'll say
Yes.
good evening.
Oh, yeah, of course it is.
As the sun just sets in Perth, it's beautiful.
Are you aware my father was born in Perth, WA in the year 1900?
That's very interesting for you.
It is to Terry.
No, probably not. Calling in now, if people cast their minds back, there's been a great many number of hosts on Australia overnight throughout the country on the different stations. We've all had mid-dawn shows for many years. One of the most successful, especially in the national sense, is a man who you might fondly remember as Luke Bona. G'day, Luke.
Oh, Luke.
G'day, guys. Good morning, everybody.
Now, see what happens when you go away. It all falls in a hole.
Yeah.
It all goes to hell in a handbag, doesn't it? Hey, listen.
Oh.
I'm stuck in traffic too. I can hit the Hume Highway in 5 minutes. I'll be there in 6 hours.
Over my dead body.
No, you're in trouble now, Luke. Phil's been looking for a national audience for some time, ever since his quiz shows finished 40 years ago.
In fact, I brought my own chair in and I'm stuck to it, Luke.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Australia. Look, you missed me that much, and I go away for 2 seconds, and look what happens.
Yeah, it takes 3 of us to sit here in the studio to fill in for Tony, who's filling in for you.
Hey, but Luke, you are about to have the best time overseas in India. It's going to be fantastic.
Look, I haven't been there before. I've got the Minister for War and Finance. She's sitting right next to me. Philip, she loves you. Say hello to everybody. This is the first time she's going to hate me. This is the first time I've ever done this. Australia, here is the Minister for War and Finance. Here's Nikki. Philip, say hello to Nikki.
Oh, hi, Nikki. Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too. I'll kill him.
And in fact, next time Luke's in Melbourne, I want to take you both to lunch. Nikki?
And I'd love that. Next time we're in Melbourne, which doesn't happen often, but
We can be there in 6 hours.
6 hours. Got the car warming up now.
Now, Nikki, is this the first time that you've ever actually appeared on Australia Overnight?
Yes, that's correct.
First time.
It's first time.
Oh, how wonderful.
How wonderful it is that we're hosting and your husband's not, and you've chosen to be on our show.
Yeah, how lovely. Thanks, what a compliment.
There was no choice.
Oh, that's wonderful. Great talking to you, Nikki.
Now, hang on. We don't let Nikki and
I'm not
Luke
saying
off
goodbye
the
to her
phone
yet.
that easily. Nikki, so does this mean now that you'll be angry with Luke and you'll probably take separate holidays?
He's in so much trouble. He's in so much trouble. And that sounds like a great idea.
I have to say, because you're probably asleep when Luke's on air, of course, but for us here in the studio, we're often driving home and hearing Luke broadcast, and when he does speak very fondly of you.
Yes.
Yes, it's very sweet. But he's still in trouble. I don't care what you say. He's still in trouble.
Well, I think you should replace the 3:40 a.m. serial, Nikki, which is ending this week.
All we have to do is record conversations in our household, and that would be the serial.
By the way, Luke, have you picked up any Hindi? Have you been polishing your Hindi?
Yeah, no, Nikki has. Watch this.
No, I haven't.
The word for no is?
I think it's nahi.
Nahi.
Oh, okay.
And I've got, goodness gracious me.
and by the way, while you're there, you might meet their new Prime Minister. His name is Mahatma Coat.
Yeah. I love his brother, Peter Buttigieg.
Now, you two in the car, are you actually on your way to the airport now to go on the holiday? Is that what's happening? Or are you on your way home from a party somewhere?
No. We just got up because I wanted to hear how Tony was going, and we're still yet to hear that. We leave Tuesday morning, and for all our 3AW, we've got 75 listeners from around Australia, from Brisbane. We've got listeners from Cairns, Rockhampton, Mareeba. We've got listeners from Albury, Wodonga, Sydney, Brisbane, and a lot of listeners from 3AW, and they're all getting ready. They leave early Tuesday. It's early Tuesday, Phil.
You'll have the time of your life, Luke, and I hope to get a postcard or an SMS while you're gone.
Yes, I'm looking up at the old Indian cousin, double-decker bars.
Just tell Simon and Ken what an influence I've been on your career back in the Moneymakers days.
Look, I've told you this story, but you know what? I'll tell you again. And Simon knows this story. When we were little, we were not allowed to watch TV during dinner, but the only show that my mother would let us watch was The Moneymakers with Philip Brady. And the grand prize was $20,000.
Yes, you're right. Or a block of land on Russell Island, which used to flood twice a day.
Yes, or then there was the Kamal collection, the Kamal collection and the Tasmania block of flats.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the only show we could watch was The Moneymakers. And my mum loves you, Philip.
Do you know, I must tell you a little postscript to that. My friends Richard and Karen Carpenter, you know the Carpenters, they spend a lot of time in Australia touring, and they love the show, but they fell about laughing every night because whenever I would tell somebody who missed out on a question, Luke, and say to them, bad luck, Richard and Karen would just die laughing because apparently in America, to say to somebody bad luck virtually means drop dead.
No.
Do you love it? That's what they told me.
I know. But listen, thank you for your well wishes, Philip. Thank you for your message. And Nikki and I would love to have lunch with you. We will. It'll be a very long lunch. You understand that?
And surprisingly, Luke and Nikki, it will be my shout.
Oh, we'll just move there.
and we'll probably eat Indian food, okay?
Okay, now, one question for you and Simon and Kenny. Rob Gilbert, who I do sport with on Fridays,
Yep.
he wants me to get involved with a footy team. And he wants me to be following Carlton. Now,
No, Luke, listen up. No, do not go near them. Oh, you'd be persona non grata in this city. Luke.
Hey, Luke, sorry to interrupt. We have a special guest on your show tonight.
We've got a gatecrasher.
Say who you are.
Barged into the studio.
I'm the man a man whose capable hands you've left your show in, Luke.
because I know that traffic in Melbourne can be hell at midnight on Sunday.
It certainly is. Look, it's I think there's a Greek festival on at the moment, so the road was strewn with out of service Monaros. So I'm blaming them. But look, enjoy your trip to India, and trust me, the show is in good hands.
Yeah. I can see that.
So, but if you could stay on the line for another 5.5 hours, that would really help.
Yeah, I shan't be doing that.
No. Well, look, Luke, enjoy the holiday, and look forward to speaking to you as you are contractually obliged to do for the next 3 weeks.
Okay, and goodbye now.
Good night, Luke. Good night, Nikki, and welcome, Tony.
Well, thank you guys.
This is a very big budget show. I mean, it takes 4 of us to replace Luke Bona.
I know. Well, the guy's he's a giant.
He's a superstar.
Well, thank you for keeping the seats warm, guys. Such as it is, service resumes now, and I'll be here till 5:30. So please keep calling in.
Beautiful. Now, so we'll leave you in peace, Tony. It's been lovely to catch up with you ever so briefly. Sharon, Nicholas, Louise and John have been hanging on patiently forever. We've been gasbagging and wasting their time. So now that you're here, you can get on with the show.
I look forward to doing that. Thank you, guys.
All the best, Tony.
Point forward, Cougar run out. What's going on with these new Cougars, Chris? New model, 2016, automatic showroom demo. Nice. Reverse camera, colour.